Okay, so welcome back, everyone, to the Imperfectly Charming podcast. I have a special guest with me today, Carole Murko. She is from Love, Eat, Heal. And I'm going to let her introduce herself in a minute. But Carole and I have been connected only for a few months. We met in a group, the support system, excuse me, the Prosper Network. And we kind of connected there. And we both kind of had the same message about self-love and healing. And so we were kind of drawn to each other in a group, and I asked her if she would be interested in coming on. So welcome, Carole.
I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, I mean, life is about synchronicities. At least the more we all do this work and we connect to our higher selves, right? And when we practice self-love, I think that opens us up to synchronicities of meeting like-hearted people, like your necklace, which I am coveting.
Thank you, Karen.
But yeah, so love, eat, heal, love yourself first, right? Spot on to Cheryl's message. Eat consciously and heal what needs to be healed. That's what I'm all about, really helping mostly women activate their inner healer. And I came to this work through my own healing journey, which I basically say is my greatest teacher. It's interesting. We go to school and collect degrees, like master's degrees and, all these like difficult certifications that everybody's like, ooh, ah. And then, it's the University of Life that gives us our best lessons. Like,
And isn't it we a lot of times teach what we need to learn or
oh,
what we've learned?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, as you, I think you believe as well, is um, there there's billions of people on the planet. So, when we learn something as profound as how to tap into your inner healer, that I feel like it's our pact with the universe to share our journey, and that journey will resonate, with my voice will resonate with voices that are meant to hear it from me, right? So where I become the mirror and the teacher, and as you said, as we teach, we learn, right? And one of the things that I teach is Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. I'm one of his certified neurochange solutions consultants, and I always tell everybody it's like I'm teaching what I deeply need to learn, which is how to get rid of kind of the old programming that got me sick, right? So the old self has to quote unquote die, right? So that the new self can, can prosper, right? Can thrive, can heal. And what I've witnessed is that, the disease that was in my old self cannot exist in my new self. So you have to prune away all of the thoughts and the feelings that were keeping you the same. And so yeah, so I'm reminded every single time I teach the work, it's like, don't, because our bodies are very clever, right? They actually love the hormones of stress. They're like, ooh, yum, yum, yum. You need to complain today, Carole, like because we want a little juice, like, and because we've normalized stress, we've normalized certain behaviors, and over years and years and years, like unconsciously. And so even though we prune them, we use them less, there's still vestiges, right? And our body's like, come on back into the pool of negative vibrating emotions. Like, so the process of self-mastery is just daily practice. Every single day you show up and you say, what does the greatest version of myself look like, and how do I keep that vision alive?
And it's ever changing. We think that, once we get to a certain place, that's good. No, it's not. The work continues. And the work we do sometimes can feel hard because it's work but we want to get to that next level. We want to level up. We want to improve our life. We want to get better at looking for joy and loving our life. And One thing you talked about the hormone piece, I recently went through I'm working with a doctor on my hormones right now, and that is a
Mm.
huge piece for women
Yeah,
is getting that our hormonal balance in control. So I'm working on that right now. But the work is never done, is it, Carol? We keep moving it forward, moving
yeah,
forward on our path.
yeah. Well, we're a society that was taught quick fixes, right? And also very outward facing, right? So we were always focused on like there as opposed to here, right? Like, you know, all of that outside stuff, but the inside work is where, it all happens. And in terms of there's no there, there's there's really like the journey continues until we transition into our spiritual soul, right? Back into the all that is the great beyond. And so this notion that we can get there. And I think it was I went to Smith College, and I think it was Anne Morrow Lindbergh went to Smith, and she wrote that book. Now I'm forgetting the name of it, but she basically says the journey, it's not the arrival, it's the journey that matters, right? And
Yeah, not the destination, but the journey. Yeah.
yeah. And so I think we forget that. We forget to be in the present moment. And even, like, so, we were both in a little coaching session yesterday trying to plan out our businesses, right? So, sometimes I even think we should have a broad plan, like an idea of where we're going. But I think boxing ourselves in once again keeps us narrowly focused, where we may miss the things that are operating, kind of on the sides, which is what we're supposed to be doing, or where the next opportunity is, or where the person is that we need to meet. And so I love, kind of this idea that, as you said, and we're always evolving. And I'm actually switching away from the word work because, I feel like it's a four-letter word, right? And I really, and I've been thinking about this a lot, this whole concept of work-life balance, which is creating separation in our lives. Like we're one person over here and one person over here. So no wonder why so many of us are we feel confused. Our bodies get confused. And I really believe that that's why, then, that's when stress settles in, and that, leaves room for disease, right? Disease to occur. And I've been really thinking about how do I describe, you know, not say I'm going to work, right? I'm going to, is it pleasure, or I'm going to live my purpose. I'm going to my desk to raise the consciousness of the planet. That's it.
I love that. I think you're right that now the focus is putting them together, and you want to have joy in your passion and your work and what you put out into the universe, and not, like you say, go to that 9 to 5, drudgery,
Yeah,
hi ho, it's off to work we go.
yeah,
We want to find that joy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been conditioned, right? I mean, this is, I'm going there. This is the military industrial complex at work, right? I mean, our society, trained us from, little, from, just think of how, like going to school, right? It was all programmed. You get up, you have breakfast, you go to school. It's like we're regimented, right? And that was all designed initially, for factory workers, right? And during the industrial revolution,
Mhm.
and that just kept going, right? Kept going. We didn't adapt or evolve away from that system, and then it became, I first worked on Wall Street after college, and I mean, I remember being on the subway in New York, thinking to myself, like, everybody's a machine. The guys were in their suits. They all knew how to, back then, people actually read the paper, right? But they knew how to fold it and snap it, right? So they could read the column and then snap it around. And I was like, how are they doing that? Like, and standing up without falling. Like, but it was very, early on clear to me that it's like this is like we're just automatons. And, and I really, I journaled about that when I was 22, and I just felt like, gosh, we step into that office, even, the lobby of the office, and between the lobby and the floor you get off in the elevator, you left your personality behind. That elevator opened, and you stepped out as the person they wanted you to be.
Yes, they expected you to be, and if you weren't, then
You
it was frowned
you're
upon.
out. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you
And
just not part of the tribe, so to speak.
and during my years of work, I worked in corporate America for a long time, and I couldn't see a way out. And now I think there are way more options now, and people are learning that it's okay to follow your passion. Back then, it was like I needed a paycheck, I needed insurance, I had, small kids, and I'm so glad that that whole paradigm is starting to shift
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
something more.
Yeah.
But until I got forced out of corporate America, I I couldn't see past it,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad that that happened to me.
I know.
But it's yeah, it's a new world. It's a new world with new opportunities, if we can take advantage of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really key. That is really stepping into that we have the power to create, right? We're creators. We don't have to go to something that's already been created and fit into that mold. And I believe that's why we met. Like we were in this group that's very much oriented towards shifting the paradigm, right? And we are the paradigm shifters. And it's interesting because, so I'm I'm 60, so I have no problems saying that. And we wanted to be like men, right? When I graduated from college, right? It was like we wanted, and by the way, the clothing that was available were men's style suits, right? Like the Harvey Bernards, like boxy, you couldn't see your shape, you had to wear a little bow tie, right? Like, and it was sort of like the women's lib movement of that era was become like a man.
Yeah.
And so we really shut down our divine feminine for quite a while. And now it's really clear that it's like show up as a woman, right? Because we the divine feminine aspects of women is so powerful, right? Because we are great listeners, we are compassionate, we have fabulous intuition, and
And
many.
multitaskers.
Yeah, exactly. And so let's evolve our passionate businesses, instead, I'm not going to call it work, into places where we balance the divine feminine with the divine masculine. Because let's face it, there are really great qualities, that come out of that masculine energy, right? Which is, probably focus a little bit more focused on numbers and process. And so, can you imagine the world when we balance those two paradigms and we create a whole new system of showing up and raising the consciousness of the planet?
Mm, yes, indeed. And I do believe that we are going in that direction.
Yes. Yeah, and we're all being tapped. I also believe that there are no accidents, and we've had our past experiences to get us here at this moment, and that we're leaders on this path, of shifting, away from the outer world, and to this notion of heart led businesses, right? So love, and by the way, so let's go back to who we are, right? Loving ourselves first is the first step, because when we love ourselves, then we are energetic attractors, and we give others permission to love themselves. Like it's like now with most of my girlfriends, you know I don't let anybody kind of go into the woe is me, or unworthiness or imposter syndrome. Like we still touch those things. We're just like, oh, am I good enough? Like that little voice underneath the surface of our conscious awareness, that mean girl in us ourselves, right? That's the part that we're 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 getting rid of, right? We're pruning that away.
You are speaking the truth, and I know that the not enoughness runs rampant in women, especially in our generation. I think that the newer generations, they're more woke than we ever were, but that not enoughness is something that you think you're good, and then all of a sudden you have this day where all of a sudden you're not enough. And you are enough. It's just that judge, that internal judge that is telling us different, when it's our heart center where we should be listening to, and not that internal judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think we both watched a particular channeler. And I love her mantra of I know who I am. Did you, Sarah Landon?
oh, yes, 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 yes.
And when I'm doing my meditations now, I'm really working with that mantra. I know who I am,
I
right?
love that. I love that, Carol, so much. I know who I am.
And whenever I feel like I've got that judge and jury coming out of me, like beating myself up, or I've really settled back and I go, no, 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 I know who I am. And I just feel my heart just like go, you know who you are. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you bring this work out into the world, and you reach the people who need to hear you. And I for whatever reason that just resonated with me. I know who I am.
Know who I am. Can you talk a little bit about some of those practices besides that that
Yeah,
might help somebody in our audience?
sure,
That
sure.
would be awesome.
So, on my healing journey, I took a gazillion certification programs. It was never to teach the work. It was to help me more deeply understand how I could self-heal, because the Western model was failing me miserably. And I knew that if I stayed that course, all the medications would have made me super sick and I wouldn't have gotten, the ailment, what I needed healed. And so the first practice, if somebody says if there's only one thing 5 minutes that you have, I always say breath work, because breath work, we have our nervous system, but our parasympathetic nervous system understands like conscious breathing. And so when we even do something as simply as a box breath, right, where you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold for 4, and you do that for about a minute, you may not actually start to feel relaxed, but your nervous system begins to go and rest and repair, like just on its own. So our bodies are so intelligent. So just by doing a simple breath, we begin to put our body into rest and repair. So that's like number one. If you don't have a lot of time, or say, for instance, you're going into a meeting and in your head, you're like, okay, that person's tough. You know, do the breath before you walk in. And then also imagine while you're doing the breath that the meeting's going to go great, that that person's going to surprise you, right? Because, by you stepping into a meeting already presupposing that person is not going to be nice, then you create that, right? So how about creating, this is going to be great, but you take your nervous system down by doing a quick breath. Sometimes even when I'm driving, if there's, the roads have gotten like cuckoo crazy, right? And you're like, okay, I'm gonna just pull over into the right lane and I'm gonna just take some breaths. Like nothing that would put me, like just like breathe, just a couple of breaths in and out, just to say, center yourself. Like don't let all the crazies who are not using their indicator light like get you, off, out of your mind. And and then of course I use meditation. And so anything from I use a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations. I also There's so many apps out there, the Calm app, Insight Timer, find your way, but like just experiment with what you find out there. I also practice qigong, and I'm a certified Dragon's Way qigong instructor, and I find moving meditations really powerful because I think we sit so much. So sometimes, I get a little antsy if I'm doing a sitting meditation, but I love being able to do meditations that involve the body, right? And so I know when I'm doing qigong, and qigong means the cultivation of energy. Qi means energy, and it's a medical martial art that is designed to open the invisible energetic pathways in our bodies, which are called meridians. So that if you go to an acupuncturist, those are the channels that they're finding the blocks and then opening them up. But can you imagine doing a qigong practice that is active, where you're helping the flow of the energy through your body while you're, intentioning either health or prosperity, or just connecting to oneness in the universe and nature. I love qigong. Anybody, there's lots of practices online that you can find. And
Very slow.
journal,
Those are slow movements, right?
super slow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then journaling. I call my journal my therapist. And one of the things that we were both certified to teach Mike Dooley's work, and you know,
Which is kind of a fun thing we just learned that we
yeah,
both, yes.
it's
Yeah,
amazing, right? So, but when Mike Dooley says, we really want to see our thoughts, words, and deeds aligned, right? So a lot of times I think about that, like, are my thoughts aligned with, my words and my actions? And a lot of times when I'm like, God, I'm feeling on edge or uneasy today, I'll journal, I'll look at, like, I'll have thoughts, words, deeds, and I'll just like, okay, what are my thoughts? I'm like, what am I saying? You know, oh, I'm not doing my actions are not equal to my thoughts, right? And it's just so powerful that you could self correct using just some very simple ideas, like aligning your thoughts, words, and deeds, and then journaling about them, so you could get to, I say, I write myself happy.
I love that. Yeah, you have said several things that people can do for free. People can
Exactly.
find so many things, like you said, on the internet, on YouTube. There's so many um yoga and meditation, and there's just Dispenza stuff on.
Yeah, tons of Joe Dispenza stuff.
Yeah, so people can
Yeah,
find that for free. They can journal for free. Um, yeah, but that breath work, that can be a quick hit, like you said, for people that are in corporate America, just to take those quick breaths before they go into meeting. And I love that you said that, come in with that positive outlook that it's going to be a great meeting. Because of that law of attraction, we draw whatever, we
right.
draw stuff into ourselves.
Yeah.
So those are some great ideas. And you do retreats
Mhm.
and workshops.
Yes.
And we will make sure that we have those links to where they can find
Great.
you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
I primarily, the entry point with me is Dr. Joe Dispenza's work because it's so powerful. And, I do one-on-ones in small groups, which really are powerful. And what I found is is you can learn the work. And here's, I think that what makes me different in the retreat realm is that I offer as the part of the retreat package after coaching, because, I mean, you come, you have this great time, you learn all this stuff, and most people go home and they're happy for like a week, and then they go back to their old selves.
right.
And so I try to offer the opportunity to integrate so that you can begin to create your new self and begin to create that habit of doing the practices. And I think that's what's really, really important, because a lot of times it feels like lonely work, right? When you're you're sitting there like all by yourself, like, okay, do I really want to do this? And knowing that our old self is always going to try to pull us back into those, hormones of stress. um, so to have the accountability with the group that's gone through the program with you is just, super powerful. So anyhow, and it's helped me because then I do it with them. So it's like goes back to you teach what you need to learn, right? So like
That integration piece is so important,
yeah,
because you're so psyched up when you first learn something, and then like you said, your old body takes over and you go back to old ways unless you get some good practices in
yeah,
place.
yes,
I know that when I was in corporate America and I was starting this journey, I would actually set um, time on my calendar that would pop up every hour that move, breathe, whatever. And it was a quick hit that I could also do to remember to be present,
yeah,
because we're often not present in our own body. So
yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting. I this morning I there's I with my grandmaster, he offers morning qigong online for his advanced students that are it's Tuesdays and Saturday mornings. But this morning it was really he slowed us down, right? He wanted us to begin, to practice the awareness. Um, because sometimes even when you know the practice, right, you're just like you're trying to whip through it, like check it off your list. And he's like looking at all of us and he's like, slow yourself down and also begin to connect, right? All these pieces in your body, right? And do it in such an aware and conscious way. And he tied it to the 4th of July of all things. And he said, and that is the ultimate freedom, right? Is when we are, aware of how our body is, every part of our body is connected, right? Every joint, every organ, and that and then you take it and that we're connected to nature, right? And once we can feel that connection within our body, then that's the ultimate freedom because then we are nature, we are in flow, and we can show up in ways that we never expected, right? So, and that's the freedom that we all really want. So,
something you said reminded me, one of my practices that I like to do also is ground. And it's like putting your bare feet on the grass, on the sand. And it's in the silence that we also can get downloads. We put your phone down, try to calm your mind and just be silent, and spend some time doing that and grounding at the same time. And
yeah,
things will open up, and in your present, you can hear the birds or the traffic, or bees buzzing around or whatever. It's
yeah,
it's a nice practice too, and that's so good for our bodies to ground to Mother Earth.
yeah.
I don't do it
So,
enough. I need to do it more, but
yeah. We all do, I mean, I this time of year, it's easier in the Northeast to go out barefoot. Like, and one of the simple practices, which I could also share is, um, prayer hands. And this part of our hand in Chinese medicine is the pericardium, and the pericardium is the heart protector. So heart to heart, and then do flat-footed marching. Just go outside and you basically like kind of imagine your foot just, like that. And you don't do high knees. You just almost like,
a
barely lift your foot.
soldier,
Like,
I mean,
yeah,
like
no soldier marching,
oh,
just
no
like
soldier.
barely lifting your foot up, but then, like connecting the whole bottom of your foot. So that is so grounding. But what's also is like every organ is represented on the bottom of your foot.
Mhm.
And the other thing we're doing is we're stimulating our kidney meridian, and our kidneys are responsible for our bone health. And and I'll just give you a little Chinese TCM right now. It's like, so our kidney channel is the channel connected to our bones. And the kidney also is where all of our inherited energy or inherited chi exists. And there's a finite amount. So that we get our other energy from eating and doing other activities. So, but because we live in a society with industrialized food and toxins and stuff, we're not getting enough of those nutrients and energy through the food. So what happens is our chi account begins to deplete, and that's what leads to osteoporosis in women, right? And even men, is that, and because that chi is being taken out of our bones. And so you want to do a practice that like supports bone health, and you can ground at the same time, do some chi marching.
Are you barefoot? Are you barefoot
Barefoot.
doing this?
Yeah.
Barefoot. Okay, so that's important because you're connecting right to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's a great practice. I like that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try it.
Yeah. It's
It's
really
raining here
fabulous.
today, but I guess that doesn't matter. You can always, water is good for our skin. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
So
yes. Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
all I want to say is, and this is something that I'm beginning to create, and it's you're you're probably the first ish to hear, but I'm creating I created a book page called A Loud Voice for Love. And what I want to tell everybody who's listening to this podcast is just be a loud voice for love. There's so much negativity in the world right now. I mean, so much. And, you know, we just have to get loud. And we need to get loud in love and loud in our divine feminine energy. And if we start stepping up, right, I believe that we will shift the trajectory of what we're seeing and feeling right now. So be a loud voice for love.
I love That's wonderful. Were you part of the conversation? It was in one of it wasn't a workshop. I think it was there might have been someone that was a guest speaker, and we were talking about all the bad things that are happening in the world. And some of the women got on and they couldn't how could they feel joy when they were feeling guilt over it. And I loved what the facilitator said, both can be true. Joy and sorrow both can be true. And
Yeah.
it is we have to rise up and put our joy and our love to combat that negativity. So I
Yeah.
love that you said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And one is an antidote for the other, right? So
Yes,
like you can't
yes.
so it's the yin and the yang. But the thing is that we have to offer at least putting enough love out there so that we have a balance between the sorrow and the joy, right? Like,
And we
and
are going to need a lot of that in the coming months here in the
yes, we
United
do.
States. So yes, we are going to spread our love out into the world, Carole,
Absolutely.
far and wide.
That's what we're shouting. We're
Yeah,
gonna get loud
yeah,
and big.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I'd love to have you back sometime. Maybe we'll pick another topic and we'll
Yeah,
hash it out together.
yeah, let's do
But I
it.
love the work that you're doing,
Thank
and
you.
I am eternally grateful and appreciate you for taking the time to be with me here on the podcast.
Thank you. And I love your podcast as well. So we're doing great work.
Yeah, we're shining our light.
That's right.
Okay, talk soon.
Mwah. Thank you.